Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis. Are you overwhelmed by a CPS case? I'm offering you a new opportunity to change your situation. Join me for a live question and answer seminar where I'll help you navigate the CPS process and help bring your child home. I'll reveal the biggest secrets to winning your CPS case. This is the same strategy I've used for over 35 years to help reunite families. I'll show you the simple steps that work even if you feel like you're out of options. Here's the best part. When you sign up, you'll get exclusive access to my private strategy session where I dive deep into your specific case. This offer is only available to those who attend the live seminar. Don't miss this chance to fight CPS and win. Click the link below to reserve your spot today.
Okay, we just had a message from Vincent Davis, a really important message. I hope you all listened. I'll first want to welcome you to my podcast. This is Bob Pace, and I'm here to fight CPS Stop Taking Our Children. Now, Vincent Davis wants very much to help you. He's the owner of this podcast, and I want to give many thanks to him for providing this podcast and the job he does. He has his own podcast, and he's also available. He wants to help you out in so many ways. I know you've reached a surpass. You found me on Fighting CPS on Facebook. I'm transmitting on YouTube. Just a moment, please. I'm sorry, I was trying to cut back the background noise. Anyway, lost my train of thought here, trying to concentrate on this. So it's a really complicated process that you're in. The child protection system is what I call CPS, the child protection system. It's a branch of social services that's supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse, but also supposed to provide help to families in need of food, clothing, housing, education for the children, hospital, and of course, a job. Furthermore, if they need to take your children, and it seems like lately almost always do, they need to do family reunification because it's been proven that the best parents are the biological parents. The best parents are the biological parents. And I want you all to be patient because the system is broke. A person named Nancy Schaefer, a senator in Georgia, has died fighting the cause of changing CPS. She wanted to abolish CPS and start all over again. She's an advocate. Anyway, she left, a big hole to fill there. So CPS is corrupt. I know it firsthand. I too, my children were ripped out of my family. My family was torn apart. I lost my home, my credit. My life was destroyed. I've been fighting them for 15 years. And it's really bad because I was hit by several things at the same time. Now, I'm here to help you with your case. I'm not an attorney, but I'm a loving father, family man that has 6 children. I've been married for 32 years, and I know what it is to have a family and to raise a family, but I also know what it is to experience CPS. And it's a really tough agency to be out there with because they're not fair. They're not going to be fair to you. They lie, they're not transparent, and they make your life miserable. And what Vincent wants to do, he has solutions. And I'd like to start off with one of the solutions that I have worked out with Vincent Davis. And that is that I have rule number 1 that you need to get attorney. Now, you can book Mr. Davis for a Zoom consultation for up to 30 minutes for $60. That's a special rate that I negotiated with Vincent Davis. Now, to get that special rate, you have to go to https:// Candely, CANDLY.com/apps, APPTS, VWD / Bob Pace. And I really want to help you. He wants to help you, and it's the best you can. You can also talk about being retained as your attorney. He has 35 years of fighting CPS and getting children back. He knows CPS inside out, and he would help you navigate. When you have that consultation, you can talk about how to get your kids back and strategies of how to deal with CPS. You can also ask him about the retainer, that if you want him to represent you. Now, he has cases in Arcadia where the office is. That's south of Los Angeles. He also has cases in San Bernardino, Northern California, and Oklahoma. But he'll go anywhere in the United States. The only difference is when he goes out of the city, he has per diem, like transportation, ground transportation, and air transportation. He also has accommodations and food. Those are additional expenses that he wouldn't have to do so much if he was at home in the Los Angeles area. So his rates are the same whether you're in Oklahoma or Pennsylvania than they are here in California. It's just additional expense of the per diem. That's all you have to do there. And a lot of you are probably asking me, why do you need an attorney? There's several reasons why. CPS is very complex. It's like open heart surgery. Would you do your heart be worked on by a plumber or by an auto mechanic? No, you need a professional. And CPS is that way. If you haven't realized now, you're like Alice in Wonderland. You fell in the rabbit hole, you met the Cheshire Cat, and the Cheshire Cat's turning on all these rooms that go nowhere. And that's what you'll find in CPS. You'll go nowhere. They will lie. They are against constitutional rights and civil rights. That's why you need someone who specializes in CPS and can fight them. That's why Mr. Davis is, and I hired him. I had to sell my home, that I worked 45 years to get. And that was a sad thing that I did. I had a beautiful home. My wife and I had a beautiful home. And we lost it. But my family is the most important thing. I wanted my children back. I wanted the best attorney, so I got the best attorney. He does civil lawsuits after the case is over, where he'll fight, CPS and win millions of dollars, both in state court and federal court. So he's the real deal. He's the real deal. He's a trial attorney. His area's expertise is dependency law with families and juveniles. Juvenile family dependency law is the area you're in with it. It's not criminal law. It's not divorce. And it's certainly not immigration law or real estate law or workman's comp law or what it is. All it is dependency, family, juvenile law. It's important to have those three keys together because you'll be going to what's called dependency court. And that's where you have the attorneys, the judge, the bailiff, and the clerk. Now, where I'm at in California, they don't allow people in the courtroom. I had to sit out in the hall. The only time I could enter the courtroom is when the judge wanted to say something to the parents. So you really don't know how people perform. That's why they say, well, I got a court-appointed attorney. CPS was so nice. They gave me an attorney for me and my children. What they gave you was the worst-case scenario. They're going to be able to control your children, adopt them, and you will not see your children. They'll be alienated, and they'll be trafficking into foster care. Because the court-appointed attorney has a caseload of 30 more clients. They don't have time. They will not fight. They're just criminal attorneys. They're not even dependency law attorneys. They have no experience, and they won't fight for your case because they want to get it over with because they got too many clients. So they're not going to fight for you for your case. And you can sit there and replace them, and some people have. But it puts a lot of burden on you and a lot of things there. That's why, if all practical purposes, you can get a bona fide attorney. And I don't mean, some people say, oh, I got an attorney, but he took all my money. Well, he was in criminal law. He wasn't in dependency law. You have to find that attorney. And right now, you can start off by meeting with Vincent Davis in a Zoom consultation for 30 minutes for only $60. There you go. Now, if you want to hire him directly as retain him, his number's up there. It's 888-888-6582. That's the law offices. That's the law offices. And that's where he has many different attorneys. If you need help in immigration or divorce or real estate or workman's comp, medical, whatever your lawyer needs are, he has an attorney for you. So all you do is call that number and you get the office. Make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you do talk to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's really important there. So that's my rule number one. That's my rule number one. Now, this Saturday, I want to remind everybody, October 5th at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, there is an exclusive live Zoom meeting with California's renowned CPS attorney, Vincent W. Davis, with over 30 years of experience defending parents against CPS. Mr. Davis has honed strategies and uncovers secrets that can make the difference to your case. Do you want to know the secrets? This is your chance to hear directly from the expert, free for fighting CPS school members. So if you're a CPS school member, it's free. And for membership benefits, you need to go to the website https://www.skool.com/. And I think there's 3 dots after that. And you go there to check out the membership. But for members, he offers a free Fight CPS with Vincent Davis. And that's Saturday at 10 o'clock. I just wanted to express that in. We had a little bit of an ad that talked about it, and there it is. I want everybody that knows it in there. So you're probably wondering how they interact with this podcast. If you're new, no problem. I do explain it every show. Most of you have found me and seen my shows. I have over 500 shows. I've been doing this since October of 2023. And I've tried to reach out to every state. And, people have called me. I have talked to over 500 some people. Also, I've reached out worldwide because I've had over 14 countries comment CPS questions or concerns that they had. So I am open. If it's about CPS, I'm open. I want to help everybody. I want to talk about anything you like to talk about. Now, the interact with this podcast is just be in this room is the first step. And you found me and you're in there. Now, there are emojis that you can do. You can put thumbs up. You can put hearts or smiley faces. Also, you can show me stars in appreciation. Furthermore, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, please click the subscribe button below. Also, if you want to be notified when it's on, then click the notification button. So that's the first way. A second way to this podcast is to text and comments. You want to maybe do more than just listening. You want to maybe comment about something. So what you want to do is that when typing in comments of your CPS and your CPS questions, please show me your name. All I need to see is a first name. Then your city or county, one or the other, and a state where your CPS case is. That's very important. Also, if you're from a country, all I need to see is your name, the city, and the state. Again, it's your first name. And try to be with your case when you start your texting. It'd be nice if you introduce yourself, tell me where you're from, and how your case got started. Try to give me as much as you can with the details. That way I don't have to keep back and forth asking questions. So that's the second way. A third way is if you want to be a guest on this podcast. And I love to have guests because it breaks the monotony of just hearing me talk. Now I can have up to 9 guests. I can have up to 10 windows. And all you have to do is contact my show producer. She's on right now. She does a marvelous job with the podcast and helping me out. She'll help you out. All you need to do is email her one of my shows. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. I come on at 8 o'clock in the morning and at 7 o'clock at night. That's all Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. Now, there is exceptions. On Sunday, I have church, so I come on a couple hours early. So I'll be on at 8 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock on Sunday. Also, this Friday night is Friday Night Lights. I'll be going to a football game, so I'll be on at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. Because I want you all to, I care enough that I want that to be available. So you just tell Grace in your email, and it's grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. You email her with the day and the time, and she'll take care of the rest. She'll give you a link for StreamYard, which is the application I use on YouTube. And that is your link to be on the show. And if you happen to be knocked off, don't lose the link because the same link will work again. So hang on to that link. And you can be on the show. She'll tell you what to do and what not to do in the podcast, like no eating or smoking. Also, we don't use the names of children, social workers, or judges on the show. And she'll help you out with your lighting and so forth, your sound. It's important that we have your sound so we can hear you. So I look forward to you being my guest. The fourth way is to call in to my office phone. And my office phone number is 626-698-0990. That's 626-698-0990. And now ring me my phone. And we use Vonage, which is a phone application on the internet. And that's my direct line. Now, I can only answer the phone during my showtime hours. So if you call me at other times, I'm not available to talk. But please, when you call in, introduce yourself, your name, your location, the city or the county, or if you're from a country, the city and the country, and of course the city or county and state if you're from the U.S. And then tell me about your case. Try to be as complete as you can, and then we can take it from there. Now, there are 4 ways I just talked about. 1, to be in the room. 2, to type me comments. And 3, to be a guest. And then 4 is my phone number. Now, we can go different directions from here. I don't know if I have my regulars in there. Faye, are you in the room? Or Natalie? These are regular people that I have. And sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Faye's been having a lot of issues with that hurricane, and also the police drones were bothering her last night. She's a single woman, and has one child that she is trying to be a guardian of. He's a special need. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. She has a daughter that she lost through no fault of her own. It was a tragedy. She's been a really tragic person. She was brought up in foster care as a small child. She was in and out of foster care 5 times through her teenage years. She had been molested and raped and abused physically and emotionally. She also had to use her body as a sacrifice for other children. And she did this all through her teenage years with sex trafficking and everything else. It really was tough on her. But she got a high school diploma and she got a college degree in nursing. She did good. The only thing is, CPS does not forget if you're in foster care. They'll remember. And she had a child. She had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And the girl was very young when the girl was taken from her. She had to make a choice, which is a wrong choice that Kentucky does. Do you want your son? Do you want your daughter? And the question is, how could she be good enough for her son, but not good enough for her daughter? CPS is so corrupt. Foster care is corrupt. They want her daughter because she's beautiful. There are a lot of parents that don't mind taking children from other parents. In fact, I like to bring up something called ICWA, the 1978 Act, the Indian Child Welfare Act. It's for Native American Indians in the United States. And they're our first immigrants. But for 150 years, CPS was never reuniting the families, the Indian families. And that was the sad part. That was really, really, really sad. So what the act did, it made the CPS social workers of CPS try to find out if the family is an Indian or not, and can they be registered? Because if they're registered as one of the 548 tribes, federal tribes, they can be registered, and then they're turned over to the tribe, who in turn places them with an Indian family who does family reunification. Get the children back to the mother and the father. And that was the act of 1978. It's a long overdue, because for so long, for 150 years, Indian children were not only taken and sold or given to foster care parents, but they were abused. They were abused. That's one of the problems that we have with foster care. So I can go one of many different ways. I always ask tonight, do you want me to talk about the rules that I have that will help your case? Or do you want me to talk about what type of social workers that you have to deal with? Or about CPS and how corrupt they are? Or maybe there's some topics you like to talk about. I just talked about ICWA, but maybe you want to talk about the 388 motion or some other things about how to make complaints, state, federal, or the national thing if things aren't working out good. I want to help you. And in order for me to help you, I need to know your concerns, your questions, your comments. So feel free to text in or call me and leave the message, because I do want to help you. We had some interest in the room, but somehow they're bouncing in and out. I see them. I don't see names. I just see when they come in. And so I really want to make this program how you like it to work for you. You know, I can sit here and talk all day long about my case or about the rules or what to expect of CPS. They're a bad entity. And I know the frustration should come in there. I've been fighting for 15 years. And so, anyway, text me a comment or how you want me to proceed, and I'll gladly do that if there's a question or not. We have 35 minutes left of this podcast, so we got plenty of time to answer your questions. Let me see here. I'm trying to remember the show this morning that I talked about. I did talk about my rules, and I don't think I talked too much about the kind of social workers you're going to experience. And so, it's interesting because when I talk to people here in the room, there's been a total of 3 social workers that have contacted me in this room. The first one was from Maryland. Her name was Carol, and she was a clinical psychiatrist. That's her college background. And she said that she had 6 months of training with the Maryland CPS. Now, she didn't say the problems that I mentioned that she had, but I know there's exceptions. I know they're good social workers. But she spent 40 minutes. She listened to what I had to say, and then she talked about how she handled her CPS cases. I wish more people modeled like Carol did. Then there was another woman from Indiana that was a third-party social worker, and she knew how corrupt CPS was, and she understood and did that. Then there was a third person that was a foster care mother, and she was not interested in adopting kids. She really wanted to help the kids temporarily till they get back with their families. You see, this bad thing about foster care, you've heard about foster care. Well, CPS makes it short and simple. If you want to adopt a kid, become a foster care parent. And they'll put you through a limited amount of training, and suddenly you're anointed and you're a foster care parent. There's very little vetting that goes on. There should be a state and federal vetting that goes on, meaning they should check their background. A lot of the foster care parents are not checked. And some of the foster care parents have children of their own. And when they bring a child to their home, their own children tease the foster care children, make their life terrible, do things to them. Foster parents do rape other children, their foster care. It's sickening of the stories I hear in foster care because it's a simple market. Normally, when you want to adopt a child, it takes years to adopt a child. It isn't something done overnight. You have to be completely vetted, interviewed, and it takes a while to get that child. But if you join the CPS foster care system, you can get a child within weeks, which is wrong. Their whole purpose is they're trying to replicate what they'd lost raising their child. They have alternative motives. Some of them are really bad and evil. Now, that isn't saying everybody is, but the people that have called in have told me how bad foster care is. Myself, I know firsthand how my children were abused in foster care. All 3 of my children. Now, I have 6 children, 3 older, 3 younger, and my 3 younger ones were taken. They were taken in 2015, a 9, a 12-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And they were taken. They weren't in imminent danger. That's the sad part. They take your children, and you tend to believe them. If they ask me for a child, I give them. If they want to inspect my home, I let them. I talk to them. I was never afraid of CPS, but I thought that all government agencies were honest. But they're worse than the IRS. They're worse than the IRS. You're dealing with somebody that retaliated. They retaliated. I know that firsthand. Our daughter was taken from us by CPS. And I can tell you about that later. But the child protection system is really corrupt. They lie. They're not transparent. It's $1 trillion business. They're in the money to make money because they give out bonuses and incentives to other parents. To other foster care parents. Plus, they give them to their social workers. And a lot of the training, some social workers don't need a license. In California, they don't need a license. They don't need a college or high school degree. They're hired on the spot, and they're put right out there protecting our children without even following a mentor for some time. I think anybody that's going into foster care must have 2 degrees. 1 degree in social work, where they take lots of classes about children, raising children, and all the good stuff about social work. Then they should also be a clinical psychiatrist, because some of these social workers think they're doctors. They prescribe drugs, and they try to make the parents crazy, the children crazy, they think everybody's crazy. You got to be careful. You got to be careful about that. It really is tough. These social workers, I'm going to give an example. And my favorite example are the Pink Ladies. These were 8 social workers who had combined total of 25 years of social work experience. Now, they were at Prescott, and their office was the Department of Children's Services, DCS. And this was the year 2022, only 2 years ago. But what these social workers thought was a great idea is they're all white female workers, decided to buy T-shirts, and on the front of the T-shirts, they put, in this stencil thing, they put professional child kidnappers. They put professional child kidnappers. The word professional was on there, and the word child kidnappers. And on the back, they put, do you know where your children are at? So as they walked by families, they wore these T-shirts at Kmart, Costco, Target, Best Buy, all the big stores. And it was sent an insult to the people at Prescott. Of course, they were fired right away when they found out about this, and so was their director. Well, that's good that you got rid of the bad people, but what you didn't leave is you left only one person in the office to handle all the neglect and abuse out there. And that was wrong. That was wrong. They need to replace those workers. And those workers need to be talked to. I think they should have been prosecuted for doing what they did. I think they should have been disciplined. Because that's wrong to make fun of families. You see, that's what social workers are. They think the families are stupid. They're low income and they don't know anything. And it is hard because you're not born with a manual of how to deal with CPS. You're not born with a manual of how to raise kids. When you buy a new car, it comes with the owner's manual. But you as parents grow up, you're not knowing about how to date, how to balance your checking account. There should be some life skills taught at high school level. And I'm talking about the 4 years of high school, the 9th, the 10th, 11th, and 12th year. There should be 4 years of life skills, 2 semesters. That's 8 different courses, which can range from anything: sex education, drugs, alcohol, marriage, divorce, CPS, taxes, balance your checkbook, open a check account, dating, when to say no. They can talk about all kinds of things, abortion. They can talk and spend all the time. They need those life skills. They need those life skills. And so I really encourage you to learn as much as you can about life skills, but also learn about the CPS. And, that goes to my next rule. And that's my rule number 4. I'm doing these out of order. But rule 1 was get an attorney. Rule 4 is you have to do research. I want you to go on the internet and Google as much as you can. There's a wealth of information that will help you. All you have to do is word it right so you find the information. You want to start off with your city and state. Now, if you're in a small city, you may have to put the big city after the small city, like Georgia. If you live in Athens, Georgia, you can put Athens and Atlanta, Georgia, and then use the letters CPS, and then put down whatever you want to know about CPS. How do they take the children? Are you able to get your child back? What are the steps that they do when they charge you with neglect and so forth? So that's rule number 4. It's very important that you have that. Now, I find that it's so difficult that you're at this stage right now, because what I know now, after 15 years, I would never have my children taken from me. I never would have done the stupid and silly things. Like rule number 2 is about taking notes. And I would write them on Post-it notes, on envelopes, on scratches of paper, on my day runner, or also on my computer, or even my phone where I had a counter with tasks. But it's so small, it's so hard to see everything. The best way I found out is get an 11-inch by 8.5 notebook, 3-ring binder, about 3 inches thick. Stuff it full of college rule notebook paper, and then divide it with subject tabs. Get about 20 tabs. And there's lots of things you can group things by common names. And one of the most important thing is a timeline or your incidents. You need to make a list of incidents. And these incidents can be with the social workers at CPS, the police, be with the school, can be with family and friends, can be with your kids. Whenever there's an incident, you write it down. And the first line should be the date, the time, the location, and who was involved. The second line is to describe the incident. A 1-sentence line is all you have to do of describing the incident. Then the third line would be the answer. How was it resolved? And if it wasn't resolved, then leave it open and come back and get it filled in when it is resolved. Then skip a couple lines, go to the next one, and then skip a couple lines and so forth. That's your life skill part. That's your timeline. It's so important to do that. You can also have a divider for all your court documents. Range them in court date, or you can make them even further subdivided by the types of court documents. Also, you need a subject tab for all the information you find out. Your research for 60 hours. All the websites, the names, all the phone numbers that can help you. You need to have the information section. Also, you need a section for all your parenting classes, your certificates. Use a hole puncher and punch it in. And make a key on the front of the parent certificates when you complete a parenting class. Also, the same goes for programs like domestic violence, drug, alcohol. You need to have, a program and a key of all the programs that you've completed. That's important in there. So all the documents that pertain to CPS should be in that notebook, and carry that with you. And that way, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you'll know what happened. You'll know what happened and how you can, show your attorney or show yourself what important information you have. And use highlighters. Use highlighters to important things that you need to have them stand out. So that's rule number 2. Rule 1 is get an attorney. Rule 2 is the notebook. Rule 4 is the research on the internet. Now, rule 3 is something that is hard to do. That is not to talk to social workers and not to let them in your home or take your children. Your home is your castle. Remember that. No one can come in your home unless you do give them permission, or someone in your home gives them permission, or you have something like domestic violence taking place where someone is arguing or hitting using knives or guns in front of children. That's wrong. You cannot argue in front of your children. That is a no-no. You don't want to do that. And the last thing is called a warrant. Now, I tell people don't answer the door the first time around. The reason being, you don't know who's at that door. Several people have been shot and killed point blank by answering the door. So you never want to answer the door. They'll come back later, or they'll leave a note on your door and you can see it later and you can follow up with there. If you happen to meet the social worker or the police outside, be nice to them, courteous, get their name and phone number, but tell them that if they keep asking questions, you need to have your attorney present. Your civil rights is always have an attorney present at all your proceedings. So during the investigation phase, you're entitled to have your attorney there. Now, I know it all deals with money, but my family is more important than money. So I sacrifice a beautiful home for getting my family back together. I cannot emphasize how important it is to have the right attorney. So rule number 3 is you don't let them in your home, be quiet. And then also, they can't take your child. The warrant thing is a real important document. It's got to have a wet signature by a judge, and the court clerk has taken a bossy stamp and embossed the stamp so the signature is raised so no one can forge it. And it's got to be on real paper, a real ink. It can't be a PFD file or something on your computer or something like that. It's got to be real paper, real ink, signature. It's got to be complete. It's got to have the name of the people involved. Then it's got to have the children's names and the allegations. Furthermore, it's got to have the location, the city, the street, and so forth on there. And then it's got to have a sheet of paper that someone can recognize on that warrant there. It's got to be that with the wet signature. If it's on a different day, like say it's on a holiday or weekend, that's not a legitimate warrant. And a warrant's got to spell out exactly what they're going to do and the date and time that they can do that. That's all got to be on that warrant. So that's my rule number 3. One thing to keep in mind is trafficking, medical trafficking. Now, medical trafficking is where you take your child to urgent care or emergency, and suddenly a social worker's there and they try to take your child away from you because they overheard something or misinterpreted a diagnostic or something. Don't let them take your child. Again, they got to have that warrant. And that's really sad because they know that you don't know the law. And so when in doubt, they're going to infringe upon their law. So I'm telling you, you need to, be really careful there. Because they will try to take your children when they're just sick because they're interpreting something. You tell them that you need to get your attorney before you meet with them. You got to set up an appointment. That's one thing. We always ask for appointments to see a doctor, don't we? Well, if a social worker wants to investigate you, which means they're fishing, you have to set up an appointment with them. And you should do it at a neutral site. It shouldn't be at their office, and it shouldn't be at your home. But watch that medical trafficking. That also goes for people that are having babies. They'll try to take the baby fresh out of the uterus. The sheriff, the police, the nurse will walk, the social worker will walk in and demand your child. They have to have a warrant. You can tell the office staff they have them go wait in the lobby, but they got to have a warrant. So that's my rule number 3. We already talked about rule number 4, which is the research part. Now, rule number 5, I usually have Faye talk about it if she was here, but something may have come up. But rule number 5 is to collect all the important documents of your children and yourselves. Documents such as school records, medical documents of your children and of yourself, shot records, their birth certificates, the social security card, driver's license, marriage certificates. They can be copies. But you need to have all those certificates because they will come up and they will try to take away your child. So it's really important. It's really important. Now, those are my rules. And so we've covered those there. I've talked about kinds of social workers. Now, I think I'll talk about the Core Digest. It's a application that I subscribe to that talks about CPS questions. Hey, good evening, Faye. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Faye. How are you?
I'm okay.
You sound disturbed here. I'm almost through with my podcast. I'm glad you come on because there's been very little activity. I've had as many as 3 people in here, but right now we have 0. And
Oh, wow.
I'm just right now at Core Digest. I gave my rules. I talked a little about CPS. I talked a little bit about my case. I talked about some of the topics, but it's really hurting. I don't know what it is. It's just that the lack of rooms. We used to have 7 rooms that we used to pull from. Now we're only pulling from 2 areas. So,
well, she says she's trying to fix all this, but
she is. She wrote me a lengthy email. So it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything particular you'd like to talk about tonight?
No, just aggravated with police harassment.
Yeah, I was telling people earlier that you had the drones last night. Were they over today?
No, but I've had some other weird stuff happening today, too.
Oh, boy. You want to share that or we can talk about it later?
No, I'd rather just not talk about it.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let me go back to Core's Digest and see what we have here for a question here. Okay. Need to blow it up here. The question is, if a parent has full custody of a kid, can their grandparents still take the kid away. Now, a person named Gamma, who studied psychology and sociology at Oklahoma State University, graduated in 1988, answers the question.
It depends on the state.
Yeah, I agree. But this Gamma person said, yes, I did. My daughter was not providing a safe home for her children. She was couch surfing and living with anyone that would let her stay there for a day, a week, 2 weeks, etc. We went to the county courthouse and filed a petition for guardianship and temporary order until we could get the court date. The judge known her record and signed it without us having to go into the chambers. We got a court date set 1 month away. When we went to the court, she didn't show up. This is the mother of the children. The court had notified the state workers and an investigation was started. We had 3 children welfare workers sitting next to us in court. The judge asked them, are we good to leave the kids with the grandma and the grandpa? And the social workers all nodded and said yes. He thanked them for their time. He went over what guardianship is. It's a temporary decision that can be reversed at any time the mother or the father is able to properly care for their children. If they're not breaking the law and are physically able to provide for their children, then the court cannot legally take their children from them. Well, that's an interesting concept. If they're not breaking the law and are physically able to provide for their children, the court cannot legally take from them. My God, they take children all the time. They lose their rights.
Yep.
They only need to go to the courthouse to request the guardianship order be terminated. They can show a pay stub, a lease, receipts for food, drug tests that are clean, letters stating that they've done rehab, anything else that shows they're doing what any parent's supposed to do. And the judge will terminate the guardianship order. The children will go back with that parent unless the state is called.
That's why I tell you all the time that adoption doesn't have to be done to keep a child safe.
Right. A guardianship.
But they do it in the U.S. because they make money off of it.
I agree with you. Anyway, the children will go back with that parent unless the state is called in by someone. The family is left alone, just like any other family. If the parent isn't able to provide for them and they just don't care, and the other parent isn't interested in taking them in, then the guardianship continues without review. However, the parent is never allowed to be left alone with the children until the guardianship is terminated. The court gave guardianship to the person based on the parent being unfit. It doesn't matter if they're perfectly fine. The court has no proof of anything except that they are classed as unfit parents. You know, the woman that was couch surfing. A friend lost her grandkids because she let them go visit their dad one evening. He worked full time, had an apartment, a car, was doing great, and he didn't make enough to rent a bigger place. The court found out she'd been letting the kids visit him. They ordered the kids put in a safe home because evidently she wasn't able to understand the unsupervised visit wasn't allowed until the court said the parent was fit. So those grandparents lost the guardianship. So yes, someone that has custody of their children can lose their children to another person who will have guardianship. Now, I just cannot believe where this court is, and I don't know if it's in Oklahoma or what, how they can say that the parents never lose their termination of their rights if a grandparent takes the kids into guardianship.
Well, because CPS in the family courts cannot terminate your rights if your child is placed with a relative.
Yeah. So that's the key out there to all my listeners. If you're in trouble with CPS and your children are taken from you, you need to get a family member to do guardianship of your children till you get your act cleaned up. Is that making sense?
Yep. Now, it may not be that way in every state, though.
Yeah.
But I know in Kentucky and in a bunch of other states that if your child is placed in a permanent guardianship or temporary guardianship, either one, with a relative, they cannot terminate your parental rights.
Okay. Oh boy, I lost Faye. My phone hung up on her. Calling Faye back.
Yes, hello.
Oh.
You have reached my voicemail. I'm unavailable to take your call right now. If you could leave your name, your number, and a brief message, I will return your call as soon as I possibly can. Thank you, and have a wonderful, blessed day.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Yeah, hi Faye. I lost you. I don't know if your phone died or you can call me back, but please call me back. Anyway, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it. Okay, we lost Faye, who is helping me with Chords Digest, and we have about 3 minutes, so I want to end the discussion on core and wrap this program up. I first want to say, don't give up. Follow those 5 rules. They helped me. I wish I'd followed them. I lost my children, but I hired an attorney and got them back. Welcome back, Faye.
Sorry I lost you.
Yeah, I know. I thought maybe your phone died. Anyway, I'm wrapping up the show because we only have about 2 minutes left, a minute. So I'm telling all the listeners that not to give up. I can't guarantee that what I tell you will work. There's no guarantee in life. A lot has to play with luck. But if you get an attorney and follow those 5 rules, they should help you. They should help you. And not to give up. Not to give up. Be polite with social workers. Stand your ground. Say very little to them. Try not to talk to them. Try to have representation. And if the only thing you got is a court-appointed attorney, make sure he does his job. And you can ask him to do his job. But I want all you people to know that I'll be on again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I'd love to talk to you some more. And I really care about you all out there. I know what you're going through. And I pray that you get your children back and not to go through the anguish that Faye's gone through or I gone through. Thank you again, Faye, for calling in and giving your input. Thank you all to people that came into my room, and we didn't have anybody talk tonight, but that's okay. Again, I'm available tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you can't get me at night, I'm morning. Not morning, then nighttime. Remember, don't give up. This is Bob and Faye signing off.